28 years later. The Bone Temple is the second movie in the planned sequel trilogy to Danny Boyle's horror classic, 28 Days Later. The film will be directed by Nia DaCosta and stars Ashley Williams, Ralph Fiennes, and Jack O'Connell in reprised roles from the previous movie. The first trailer for The Bone Temple immediately proved that this movie will be very different from its predecessor. It seems as though Ralph Fiennes' character, Dr. Kelson, will have a more significant role in The Bone Temple, as the trailer gives him a lot more screen time. The character wasn't introduced until the final act of 28 Years Later, but it was immediately clear that he was going to be a crucial figure in Spike's life as he navigates the infected mainland. However, Kelson's importance may not be in life, but rather in death. Despite its dark storytelling and traditional horror tropes, 28 Years Later is really a coming-of-age story above all else. The film details Spike's journey onto the mainland, where he learns just how dangerous and unfair the real world can be. The film culminates with Spike having to reckon with the untimely death of his mother, which understandably turns him against the world and guides him right into the hands of the anarchical Jimmy's gang. The ending of 28 Years Later suggests that Spike has joined this violent group, and the Bone Temple will likely teach him exactly why this isn't the right way forward. The Jimmy's gang will have a much larger role in the Bone Temple, and it's very likely that Spike will eventually turn against these outlaws after seeing exactly what they're capable of. But there needs to be a clear, undeniable incident that finally changes Spike's mind. And the death of Dr. Kelson is a tragically perfect fit. Danny Boyle and Alex Garland clearly have a very specific vision for this overarching story across 3 movies, and judging by the first movie's key themes of chaos, disorder, and anarchy, it definitely seems like the Jimmy's gang will be the main villains in the end. However, Spike currently has no reason to distrust them, so he needs to witness their violence firsthand. Narratively, it makes perfect sense that Kelson would come to blows with the Jimmys eventually. Perhaps Spike would lead them to the Bone Temple if one of the followers became sick or sustained an injury, believing that Kelson would be able to help them. But things could easily turn south, and the Jimmys would have no issue killing Kelson to protect themselves. This would be such a tragic route for Spike's story to take in the Bone Temple. Not only does he lose the person who tried to save his mother's life, but he would also be directly responsible for Kelson's death because of his affiliation with the Jimmys. There have been countless theories about the 28 Years Later movies, but this one feels suspiciously in line with the movie's existing themes. Being responsible for Kelson's death and subsequently leaving the company of the Jimmy's gang would also be an effective way of guiding Spike into the path of Cillian Murphy's Jim, who's confirmed to return in the Bone Temple. Murphy's character will reportedly have a much larger role in the third movie, which could see him bring down the Jimmy's gang with Spike's help, seeking revenge for Kelson's death. Alex Garland's screenplay for 28 Years Later has an extremely dark and cynical tone, using the gradual collapse of human society to represent the many ways that corruption and violence are breaking down social barriers in the real world. The Jimmy's gang is the perfect embodiment of this, showing how the fabric of morality itself gets torn down when social norms are removed. Kelson is a beacon of hope in a world that's fallen to pieces, and the sequel needs to snuff him out in order to throw Spike into the darkness. This is a coming-of-age story after all, and Spike won't be able to fulfill his journey until he's lost everything and been forced to claw his way back. And this wouldn't be the first time the 28 Days Later franchise has killed one of its most likable figures just to teach the rest of the characters a lesson. It would be very reminiscent of Frank's death in the first movie. Brendan Gleeson's character, who becomes infected and is shot down by the British military. Ultimately, Kelson just may be too likable and noble to actually survive in the chaotic, messed-up world that Alex Garland and Danny Boyle have created with 28 Years Later. There will be several returning characters in the Bone Temple, and there's simply not enough room for them all to make it to the final movie in one piece.